Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to thank you all for registering for our webinar. Again, my name is Jayzona, Alberto, and I'm the Academic Manager in the Office of Academic Affairs at the College of Dental Medicine here at Western University of Health Sciences in Pomona, California.
And I'm Patty Camberos. I'm the Systems Operational Analyst, and I work for the Office of Academic Informatics for the College of Osteopathic Medicine of the Pacific. And what we want to share with you today is how we as power users within the same institution, we work independently but in collaboration with each other so that we really get our bang for our buck when it comes to assessments and assessment features. With a new technology or a new assessment system is that when a common group of staff or faculty members begin to use that program, well, in our instance, it's ExamSoft, but what happens is there are one or two people that will become super proficient in the and that's fantastic, but the problem that surfaces sometimes is that those benefits tend to remain in those silos or within that one person, and then that process is lost, and it has to be relearned through trial and error when that person leaves. Now, what we found, though, is that we were quickly able to implement really efficient workflows and processes. Now, if you found our webinar through the ExamSoft resource page, you already know the importance of categorizing your items and mapping your outcomes. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say stuff like that, but also what you've done is you've tapped into the best resource for inspiration and knowledge when it comes to what people are achieving in ExamSoft and what can be achieved. For example, just scrolling through the resource page, these were a couple really interesting case studies and webinars that I came across. So until you have your enthusiastic group together that's willing to collaborate, let this be your group. You already have power users pushing the limits in ExamSoft, and they're really eager to share their knowledge. You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Use their experience and hack their process so that it fits your needs and encourage change in your realm of influence. And when you find something that really works for you, please don't hesitate to share it with your peers at your institution. You may feel that your programs or your departments are really different and there isn't a need. And I probably felt the same way at first when I started here. When I would share that process with a peer, I always ended up coming up with something that got me over and above what I was looking for because they would recommend a different filter or a function that I hadn't thought of yet. So everyone can understand where we're coming from. What I'd like to do is quickly share our history with ExamSoft at our campus here at Western U. So first of all, we have the medical school. And that medical school, we have two locations, one here in Southern California and one in Oregon. In addition, when we launched ExamSoft in 2012, we were sharing a database with the College of Podiatric Medicine, and they share a large portion of our curriculum. So we soon began to sense that in the future, it felt like we had too many hands in the cookie jar, so to speak. So we decided that the best solution for us was to have podiatry and COMP, or the College of Osteopathic Medicine, to split off into their own databases. Just like vet med, pharmacy, nursing, they all soon followed. And within the span of 2 years, nearly every college at Western U was starting their own experience with computerized testing, albeit we all started at different times. So from the very beginning, the complexity of our curriculum delivery, it forced us to explore creative solutions for collaboration with a few of these different programs. And then depending on the level of participation from each of the colleges, this also affects the exam delivery and the needs for each college also. So this is our experience in a given year as far as the exams go. So there are 4 exams for medical gross anatomy, and since the number of hours in the topic determine the number of items and types of questions, this is an example of the needs that we have to meet for each college in a given year. So each college has their own academic needs, of course. Each program has their own objectives that they need to meet, and they only have their students participate in the material that's relevant to them. Each of the colleges has their own ExamSoft license, their own category structure, and it would be nearly impossible for one person to correctly and efficiently create, say, Exam 1, for example, 3 to 5 different ways and tailor fit them for the proper college. And it would be such a waste the time to input the exam items over and over again into the separate databases. Because we all participate in different lectures, we can't even really use the same import file without some real headaches. So we needed to define where this one process, how it split up into separate entities. That way we could see where we could share the load. And while I'd love for you to believe that we have everything together and that all of our exams are written and prepared well in advance, truth be told, sometimes the course directors, they don't have a chance to review the exam until the day before. And if we're all in different databases, I can't fix dental's exam once I've given them the questions. So how can we efficiently communicate those last-minute changes to avoid one or more of the colleges being left in the dark about potentially crucial edits? We realized that our situation was especially complicated and there was absolutely no room for ambiguity, which would lead to errors on the exam. So our solution was to find a common language in a flexible platform. So within a few months of sharing ExamSoft, the medical school took advantage of the momentum and completely revamped the method in which we were creating and sharing exam items with the shared colleges. Previously, what would happen is each faculty member would submit their exam items. They would do so by email, by fax, post-it notes that were left on my desk, messenger pigeon, you name it. The exam edits, they came in an equally organized manner. So we implemented SharePoint for item submission. SharePoint is a collaboration platform for project management, and it allows us to securely give access to faculty members on and off campus so that they group. As icing on the cake, I was able to add different categories as populated fields, so we could tag up to 19 different categories per item. Now, of course, that was a range that we were comfortable with, and that number obviously changes with the way that the form is manipulated in SharePoint. And I recommend that if you have a method like this, use caution, because I know we got a little overzealous with our expectations because really there were no limitations to what was possible as far as categorization at that point. But I think the most important thing would be to determine what your goals and clearly have those outlined so that you avoid your faculty experiencing category fatigue. We tag our questions by example. For example, we tag them by institutional objective, course objectives, by author, by board categories, by learning activity also, just to name a few. That way the participating colleges could filter the questions by the lectures that their students attended, and they could see the edits made by the faculty members made in real time. Same version of the exam, and they can see the changes clearly. Now, SharePoint is what we had readily available on our campus, but really the vehicle to share is up to your needs and resources. It could be as simple as a shared Google Docs file or something shared in a shared drive on the university. So maybe you're in an environment that doesn't require exams to be a team effort. Even amongst faculty members within a department, while you have each faculty member making their own exams and creating their own categories, when you're looking at assessment, you're really going to want some overarching consistency in your tagging so that you can begin to pull big picture data. If not, all you're really looking at is really granular information that only applies to one silo. So in any environment, you're going to need a common language. And it may be as easy as keeping a checklist of adopted categories that your group considers to yield the most information for student feedback and curricular improvement. So once this process was put into play, all the exam managers rallied together and we started perfecting this system. And we put our own touches onto the template as we started gaining experience and knowledge with SharePoint. And once it was running smoothly, I felt like a proud mama, and I could not shut up about this process and how all the teamwork that was going on and how smoothly it went. I told everyone that would listen. I told even managers in ExamSoft that were not part of the shared curriculum, like pharmacy and nursing. So as the colleges wanted more information on this process that we created, I decided to kill two birds with one stone. And I invited the shared curriculum, shared curriculum meetings so that I could train everyone at the same time. And gradually the scope of the topics broadened from just exam building and the import process.
So yeah, you may be wondering how we define what an ExamSoft power user at our institution is. Well, let me take a moment to explain what this particular role means for us. Here at Western U, a power user is an individual who may be the key administrator for ExamSoft in their program or college. He or she may be one of the assessment managers who are charged with the responsibility of creating exams, setting up courses in groups, developing rubrics, and tagging categories. A power user is someone who goes above and beyond these tasks and has quite an in-depth knowledge of ExamSoft and its features. Power users share what they know, they teach and show others techniques to improve their use of ExamSoft, offer suggestions to the community board and to their account managers, and are basically ExamSoft. Other faculty and staff use the term power user synonymously with ExamSoft expert, whiz, high priestess, authority, or the only person who knows how to fix what I messed up. When the power user group comes together, something almost magical happens. The shared knowledge, talents, and ideas of a group like this often results in new vision, better outcomes, and efficient and streamlined processes for most assessment features. Discusses ExamSoft best practices at our monthly meetings. We train individuals from other programs new to ExamSoft or new to the university. And we support all ExamSoft users by sharing these experiences so that they can improve implementation and management. As you all know, ExamSoft hosts many valuable webinars. Tip our users view the webinars that they're interested in and report back to the group what they learned, what they found interesting, and what new features or aspects of the webinar that can be applied to either their college or our institution as a whole. Sometimes we find a webinar that could benefit more than one program or college. So we gather as a group of power users. We reserve a conference room, pop some popcorn, which Patty eats like mostly all of it.
Mostly all of it, yeah.
And we watch and discuss the webinar together. Setting up a meeting to watch a webinar has resulted in valuable moments of learning and camaraderie. One person may come up with a question for the presenters that others in the group may not have thought about, or another individual may have an idea for best utilizing the newest features for all of the programs here on campus. The discussions both during and after the webinars can be extremely rich simply by coming together just to watch it. This is also typical of our monthly meetings. So what exactly happens at these meetings and how are they conducted? Our power user meetings offer an informal forum for discussion of various topics, common issues, new features or improvements, and suggestions for the community board. We use the round-robin method to share individual approaches for processes such as uploading exams and creating rubrics. We ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and share. We talk about things like eliminating errors when importing questions, which is something that many of our exam managers have come across every now and then. We talk about creating groups and courses at the beginning of each semester, pulling longitudinal analysis reports, and illustrating longitudinal outcomes for each college and for the university as a whole. We talk about how we set up our key administrator global settings, how we assign multiple graders to one or more students within a performance assessment. We talk about how we edit user permissions for the faculty and staff who are using ExamSoft. And then lately we've been discussing how we upload artifacts for grading with rubrics. What are our best practices for exam security with our proctors? And then also conducting exam reviews using the delayed exam review feature. We discuss advantages and disadvantages of these features and processes. We brainstorm ideas for improvements that will benefit our institution and others so that we can pass them along to our account managers or post them on the community board. We encourage everyone to take the lead on testing new features that ExamSoft releases. That way, everyone has an opportunity to report back to the group and develop their power user power. And although we did not initially plan to provide food at these meetings, we found that attendance has increased with the types of snacks provided. So we also have a power user site and news feed. This is where we house the links to various ExamSoft quick reference guides or QRGs. We even create our own how-to guides specific to our institution and post them here. Patty also created our users so that we can post ideas or problems, which opens up new conversations outside of our regular meetings. The power user site and newsfeed is like having our own ExamSoft community board for our institution that is specific to our needs. In addition, power users are encouraged to post points of discussion for the next meeting so that it can be added to the agenda. And we recommend that if you're selecting a place to house your guides, probably find something that is accessible both on and off campus, just so that you're able to access all of your guides. So the group of power users started small but grew as more programs and colleges began to implement ExamSoft. Every successful individual knows that his or her achievement depends on the community. This is no different for our Western U ExamSoft community. The community is beneficial for a number of reasons. It allows us to make connections with others we would not typically work with. It pushes us to work outside of our comfort zone. It promotes interprofessionalism among the colleges here at Western U. So we not only talk the talk, but we also walk the walk. This is where true collaboration between members of different colleges and disciplines happens. We even provide support for each other in areas outside of ExamSoft. For example, we call each other up if we need an additional exam proctor, and then we also try to collaborate on projects using other educational technologies on our campus. The community allows us to enrich the flow of ideas that result in suggestions for improvement, and it gives us the ability to learn what other colleges are doing, those ideas to our own college administration. We realize that it is never a competition, and we recognize that although we are separate programs and different professions, we are all one school with one common goal: to provide exceptional education to our students. Each of our colleges' needs or processes are different. We naturally gravitated toward implementing different features to improve efficiency. And then Patty, Amanda, and Dr. Health have played an essential role in developing item banks for their respective colleges. This is just another superpower that they all have. These individuals are typically the point people should any assistance be needed. Another example of a superpower would be my understanding feature. In our college, in the College of Dental Medicine, we are very fond of grading projects, presentations, and simulating clinical exams with rubrics. But for many years, we have been doing the tedious work of grading on paper, calculating by hand. Of our power user group were able to take what worked for us and what didn't to improve their implementation of rubrics within their college or program. For example, medicine was able to take the lessons learned from dental to implement rubric grading in their clinical skills lab, where they began artifact grading with students uploading electronic SOAP notes to the ExamSoft portal. They're currently in the process of demoing the practical portion of their medical exams to their fellows, and I was able to be present to provide any type of additional help. With a community like this, we find it easy to lean on each other for support. If someone needs a tutorial, any of the power users are a quick phone call, email, or walk away. So, laying the foundation for big data. What's the big picture, and how can your institution utilize ExamSoft to its fullest capacity? So at our university, comparing tag categories such as the institutional learning outcomes, program learning outcomes, even topics across programs is essential in pulling big picture data. Our university can assess outcomes across programs and colleges. For example, we can see how well does medicine teach our core value of humanism compared to dental med? Or what learning outcomes do podiatry, optometry, and biomedical sciences need to improve on? Another thing we use ExamSoft for is pulling reports to provide to accreditation bodies, such as those specific to each profession, or to WASP, which accredits the university as an entity.
So our community of power users, it's become so effective that essentially what we've created is a turnkey system for institutional-wide assessment, like the testing that takes place during our interprofessional education course. Buy-in across the exam managers from all over the university was almost instant, and with the process already nailed down, it was really easy to do. So this effort's going to take place, and we're all eager to see the results of that.
So tips from the best gossipers we know, which are us. Respect boundaries. As I've mentioned, everyone's academic needs are different, so we don't dictate what everyone's process is, but we share knowledge and get the most out of all of our efforts.
I'd also like to add that we have all levels of administration represented in our power user group. So we have assistants to managers, directors to deans that attend this meeting, and there are no egos or one person that quote unquote does it best. We find that ExamSoft really levels the playing field here because it's relatively new to all of us, and the new features pop up constantly. So we simply are gathering to learn together so that nothing's missed. And I'm only here to keep the group organized and informed. The next note or tip from us is to get creative. So we realize that While there are some similarities between our programs, none of our solutions were one-size-fits-all, and no doubt you're going to experience the same. So get creative and find out-of-the-box solutions so that everyone can benefit.
Everyone gets a turn. We encourage all power users to try out the newest features and share their feedback and opinions. This way, everyone takes ownership of the group and it doesn't belong to just one person. Most importantly, we take turns bringing snacks and hosting the meetings.
So that Patty shows up to the meetings. The next one is, if you dish, back it up. And what I mean by that is, if you share your project with the group, you should be prepared to train others that are interested in implementing what you've done. And the very last one is divide and conquer. And it's not as malicious as it sounds, and it's something that happened unintentionally when I started this. I started this meeting with a small group of exam managers in the shared curriculum. And then I branched out. I really didn't know most of the power users from the other colleges that were not part of the shared curriculum before this experience. And had I reached out to all of them and tried to invite them all from the very beginning to come sing Kumbaya around the campfire with me, they all would have told me to get lost because I didn't have any street cred yet. But soon we all began to gain trust from others in the university when we proved to be knowledgeable and dependable.
So that concludes our presentation for today. If you have any questions, our contact information is here on the slide. Thanks again for participating. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope that we were able to share something that inspired you.